Do you want to host this one? You're in charge. You're the MC.
Sure.
Good, because if I did it, it's just going to get dark and sad.
Gotta keep it upbeat and happy.
Yeah, that's your territory.
Okay.
All right, take it away.
Should I do like a classic? I didn't see
Oh
you
man, I haven't heard the classic in a long time. I think people miss it.
Okay.
It's not going to be as classic because I'm probably going to leave it in this little preamble.
That's fine.
Go for it.
Oh, hello there. Welcome to another episode of I Love This, You Should Too, a podcast with me, Samantha Randhawa, and him, Indy Randhawa. Hi, Indy.
Hello.
And we here at the I Love This, You Should Too.
Yeah.
We're the now.
Mm-hmm.
And we here at I Love This, You Should Too are members of the Alberta Podcast Network, which is locally grown and community supported. How are you, Indy?
I'm excited to sit here and talk and celebrate the passing of another year, bringing us closer to inevitable death and that sweet, sweet release. How about you, Samantha?
Oh my goodness. I'm excited for the new year and all of the gifts it will bring.
Literal gifts or figurative gifts?
Figurative gifts. Blessings.
What kind of blessings are you looking forward to?
Just being with the ones that I love. So this episode, we're going to be doing a best of 2022. Indy, what are we going to cover?
I don't know.
Oh.
Books and movies and what are the other ones?
Book, show, album, movie, and other.
Okay, awesome. But it's not like best of things we've talked about.
No.
It's things that were released in 2022 that we have not talked about on the podcast.
There may be a little bit of overlap for me.
Yeah, maybe for me as well.
But I'm excited.
Oh, definitely for me, actually, now that I think about it.
Okay. But I'm excited to kind of cover some of this stuff and maybe give our listeners a sneak peek onto what we'll be doing in January.
Oh, I'm excited. And also, I don't talk about new things very often at all.
No, Indy's back in the 1950s?
It depends.
Okay.
70s a lot of the time.
70s, okay.
Musically, the 70s.
Yeah, I was thinking about books.
Books, yeah, the 50s.
Okay. So it's a big deal for Indy to tell us what he liked from 2022 because it was slim pickings, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I only have like one kind of cheat answer.
Well, our first sponsor of the episode is the Well Endowed podcast by the Edmonton Community Foundation. It's hosted and produced by Andrew Paul and Lisa Pruden and explores the impact of passionate people who are working to make Edmonton a strong, vibrant city to live in. The Edmonton Community Foundation helps people create endowment funds. The podcast tells the stories of those endowments and how they intersect with the community. You can subscribe wherever you're listening to our podcast or at thewellendowedpodcast.com. Okay, well, Indy, do you want to kick it off with your book?
Oh, sure. So we'll get my cheat out of the way right off the beginning because, like I was saying, I don't read a lot of new stuff, but I do read the YRCA selections every year. That is the Young Reader's Choice Awards, and I used to be on like a team organizing some of this stuff. I'm not anymore, but I still keep up with it because I still work in the library systems, and I like being able to recommend things to the kids that I work with. So although this book did not come out in 2022, it is part of the 2022 YRCA selection, so you can still vote for it and it would win awards now, but it actually was published in 2020, and that is a book called Everything Sad is Untrue by Daniel Nayeri. And this is the true memoir of Nayeri's childhood. And because it is about him growing up and looking back on it, I think that it will appeal not just to the audience of people that age, which is, I think it's later elementary and into middle school, those kind of years.
Okay.
But I think it would appeal to adults because I really liked it because it is someone kind of reflecting back and it gives you a chance to do the same and reflect back on your own childhood. At least that's how it worked well for me. And it's his story a little bit about growing up in Iran and leaving as a refugee and then settling in Oklahoma. And mostly it's about adjusting to his life there.
Oh.
It concentrates on his American life, but he often tells his classmates stories about Iran. And the way they react to that is always a lot of fun. or maybe not a lot of fun. Sometimes it's straight up heartbreaking, actually. But I think that is where the story is at its most interesting, perhaps. It is like a really brutally honest memoir, and I liked that about it. It's not sugarcoating things for children. He's talking about things that like were miserable when he was a child, and he depicts it like that. It's not just everything makes us stronger or it all works out in the end. Like, no, a lot of it's sad. And I think he's able to capture really specific emotions, and it's not just showing you something new. Like, to me, all of these challenges facing new refugees, that's something that I don't have any context for. But because he is able to anchor things into real emotions, I feel like it's very effective and gives you insight into that. And for me, though, he also reminded me so much about what I had forgotten about my own childhood, because it reminds me of all of the things that you go through that are unique when you're growing up in a place where nobody looks like you. And a lot of them maybe I've repressed intentionally, but this brings a lot of it back, and maybe in a cathartic way, though.
So this is for what age group?
I think the target audience is probably like right around 12 years old.
Okay.
It is a junior selection, which is kids younger than that as well. But emotionally, it's so more well-developed than a lot of stories that age. But I'm not saying that don't show it to younger kids. I'm saying that, yeah, younger kids know about these things. They go through these things. So maybe we should be showing them books like this more often.
Yeah.
So I think younger kids can read it, but maybe right around that age. But I don't think you can be too old for it, because I thought it was still very well written. And it's a story that doesn't exactly walk the line between heartbreaking tragedy and uplifting inspirational story. It kind of shows you that those two things go together, that one comes from the other. So I think that one is definitely worth reading.
And what's it called again?
Everything Sad is Untrue.
Okay.
And if you like it, you can vote for it in the YRCA voting, which is still going on when this comes out. And also, I just did an episode of Overdue Finds, the EPL podcast,
One
about
of our favorite podcasts.
And it's about Year in Review 2022. So I say a lot of the same stuff. And you know me, I think maybe it's the old film actor in me that I do things exactly the same. So if I phrase something well once, it kind of sticks in my brain. And so I might have said the exact same things. I'm not sure.
Oh, see, I'm like the opposite of you. I have a hard time. I'll like say something really good and like phrase it well. Yeah. And then can't.
I hit my marks. That's one thing I could do when I was an actor.
I think I'd be a terrible stage or film actor.
Yeah, you had to do things exactly the same.
I'm bad at that.
And I edit so much audio that I'm good at saying things exactly the same, so it can be in multiple cuts.
Cool.
So that is my kind of a cheat pick. Also, I could say Attack on Titan finished up, so volume 34. But I think that also was published in 2021 in Japan, and we just kind of got things a little later. But maybe I'll do that as a pick of the week in the future.
Sure.
So Samantha, you've read quite a few books that you talk about on here, and you read a lot of contemporary things.
I do. I read a lot of stuff that came out in 2022.
What's your pick of 2022?
Well, if you are an avid listener of the podcast, you will have heard me talk about the Colleen Hoover book, It Ends With Us.
Right.
So the sequel came out this year.
Oh, yeah. You were going to read. You talked about it a little bit on the podcast.
Yeah. So It Starts With Us is the second book in this series. And I'm not sure if it's just 2 books or if there will be a third. But book 1 kind of gives you Lily's story as she's divorcing her husband, Ryle, who is abusive. And
Ryle?
Ryle. R-Y-L-E.
Oh,
it bugged me because
Ryan and Kyle,
yeah.
But to me it sounded like he's all riled up.
I think it's a nickname. I think his name is actually Riley.
But that's okay. You know what? That's not a thing to get stuck on. Nope. So keep going.
Anyway, it did bug me too because Ryle is not her name. It's Kyle. But so they, in the first book, are in the midst of breaking up, and Lily comes back into contact with a childhood friend named Atlas. And It Ends With Us is kind of the beginning of all of those stories. And so It Starts With Us is actually in Atlas's point of view, and you get Lily and Atlas's like childhood backstory, which is really interesting because Atlas was homeless, and he was basically taken in by Lily and like fed and clothed, and she was in her teen years, so she was like very young to be doing this. And so you kind of get the beginning of Atlas and Lily's love story, as well as Lily trying to adjust to having a baby with someone that she is no longer married to. And I thought it was just a really well done book.
So did you like this as much as the first one?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. It's on par, not better?
It's on par.
Okay.
I'd say it was what I expected from this book, I guess.
And if you like the first one, that's a good thing.
Yes.
To have it be what you expect.
It was what I expected. It was kind of what I wanted from a second book, because there were so many things that just like weren't explained. And they use diary entries from Lily's diary to kind of fill in some of that backstory.
Okay.
Which was kind of a neat way to do that without having Atlas or Lily have to like tell the whole story.
Right.
You got to read or listen to you got to read Lily's diary excerpts, which kind of put into context like what happened and the things that they kind of went through together.
And you listened to this one. Does it have multiple narrators?
Yes.
And are they good?
They are good. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed the narration, and there are two narrators. And I thought that the voice acting was really well done and not over the top. Because sometimes when it's over the top, it kind of distracts from the story. So neutral, I think, it sounds bad when I say that, but like neutral is kind of what you want for your...
You want in the middle. You want some emotion, but you don't want them trying to upstage the material.
Exactly. Yeah. So It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover is my 2022 book of the year.
Whoa, book of the year.
It was something that was like so highly anticipated. Like I knew it was coming before I read the first book. So I was reading the first book with the second book in mind. So I was excited that I was able to get it.
All right. Well, why don't you go next? You can choose the category.
Okay. I'm going to go show.
All right. What was your show of 2022?
So I feel like I watched a lot of shows that weren't from 2022. I did a full Tudor timeline network television kind of watch of the full Tudor timeline, and all the Stars shows that I love that are kind of like a guilty pleasure. And so none of those were released in 2022. So I chose The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window, which I think we talked about on the podcast.
We did, yeah. Refresh everyone's memory.
Yeah, so this one, it stars Kristen Bell. It is kind of, it's a dark comedy, and it's based on all of those books of like mystery thrillers of like
your Gone Girls and
and like the woman
in the window,
woman on the train. I can't remember all of them, but yeah. So it was kind of based on this like really popular genre of books that's kind of all you get right now. And so I enjoyed this one. It was really interesting. There were some twists, and I just thought it was like really well acted. I thought Kristen Bell was really good at being this kind of mentally disturbed alcoholic who is experiencing all of this stuff alone in her house.
And I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but it's kind of it's a satirical, humorous take on that, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it is kind of, it takes cues from all of those kinds of books that are very, very serious and very dark and twisty and kind of thriller-ish. So this was kind of a fun response to it, and there are some funny moments, and I think that it's kind of a nice watch if you enjoy that kind of book.
And it's just one season, correct?
It's just one season.
And that's it? It's like a miniseries kind of?
It is a miniseries, so I don't think that there will be anything else.
And where can people watch it?
It is a Netflix original.
There you
So
go.
I assume that you can get it everywhere on Netflix. So you can watch The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window, which even the title is kind of a conglomeration of multiple books titles. And you can let me know what you think of it if you liked it.
Yeah, let us know your picks from
Yeah.
2022.
I'm always interested for
recommendations.
new materials to watch and listen to.
And every now and then, it happens so rarely, but I kind of forget that people take us up on our recommendations, because Andrew was just posting about the Bright Eyes Christmas album. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that people sometimes listen to us.
I do like that. And
I love when people get back to us.
My friend Kim is currently, she just finished all the Step Up movies, and she had very strong opinions about what she thought of them.
Oh, that's fun that she talks to you about that, because I just got a question. It said, why do they burn the things at the end of Citizen Kane? And then I was like half asleep at the time. So I responded though, but half asleep, I'm still pretty coherent. So I said, literally, I think it's just because they didn't want to take the time and effort to go through cataloging and selling everything. But figuratively, I think it's symbolic about how one man who tried to make material wealth his legacy, and that can't be a sustainable legacy, and all material wealth is ephemeral, which I think might be correct, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're very coherent when you're half asleep.
I think I'm more coherent.
I'm always amazed whenever we are both sleeping and we have to get up and do something really quickly. It's like you're always on it, and I'm not.
But it's a blessing as well as a curse, because then if anything wakes me up, it's 5 in the afternoon again, and I have to work on going to sleep. And
no.
That is not easy for me.
No, it is not. Okay, Indy, what's your show?
My show, I think I only watched one show from 2022. Maybe. There might be some other little ones that come and go on your Netflix and whatever, but one that stuck with me is The Rehearsal.
Okay.
And The Rehearsal is a show from Nathan Fielder. So if you're familiar with Nathan For You, then...
I think you talked about.
No, not on this, but
Okay.
I will, because after watching The Rehearsal, I started rewatching old Nathan For Yous, and they're very good. So I think you can only watch this on HBO, or in Canada, I think Crave might have HBO things.
Oh, okay.
But that's where the show is from. And the premise of the show is silly. So it's just, if you have something in your life that is difficult, you contact Nathan Fielder, and he is going to allow you to rehearse what could potentially be an awkward social situation. So, for instance, one of the episodes is there is a man who has a group of friends. They all have PhDs, and they assumed he did, and he just went along with it. And he's like, I had to tell them that I have a bachelor's, and I want to rehearse that. So that's not so crazy, but he goes into crazy extents, of course. So he rebuilds the entire bar exactly how it is in a studio setting so he can rehearse it.
Right.
And he hires an actor to go follow the woman around who he's going to be telling and learn about her so that actor can play the woman who's going to be told and to make everything more realistic. And if you're familiar with Nathan For You, it's funny. It's a comedy. Well, it's a fine line. All of his stuff starts out hilarious, and how far Nathan goes to do these things is really funny, but it always kind of comes back to the sadness of this man who is kind of incapable of connecting with humans in a normal way. There's also this simulation where someone gets to go through 16 years of parenting.
Oh.
And how intense and insane that is remarkable, and gets to the heart of things way more than any sort of documentary filmmaking I've seen.
Oh.
And then there's one episode where Nathan, of course, has to tell these actors who are playing people, how to play this person. And so he's teaching them, go to their work. Try to get an in, try to listen to them, try to learn who they are. You have to be aggressive and do this.
Oh.
And then he's thinking wait, am I a good teacher? That guy wasn't listening to me. So of course, in the vein of the show, he recreates the lesson he just taught, but he hires an actor to play himself. And now he plays the actor who was listening to the lesson.
Oh.
And then he's thinking like, well, I don't really know. I'm not getting through to him, so I need to learn more about this actor that I am playing. So then he starts following the actor around and becomes that human.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, he's also teaching that actor to be this other person. So he says, like, you should live like that person. I got you an apartment so you can live like them. And he's like, well, what's going to happen with my apartment? And then, of course, Nathan moves in there to learn to be that actor, to be a better teacher to that actor. But that actor is now being a different person. So then Nathan has to go into a third house because he's now being an actor who is being taught by Nathan, being played by an actor, and needs to be playing this third real person.
Oh my God.
And it's just these layers of insanity that really comes down to some really kind of sad and beautiful things in the end.
Oh, wow.
So the rehearsal, if you can get into it, it's worth your time.
Mm-hmm.
It is remarkable, and it is not something that I can very easily tell you about because that little explanation I gave is so convoluted and ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the tip of the iceberg. It goes to so many other bizarre places after that.
Yeah, it seems like you have to watch it to really appreciate it.
I would say so.
Yeah.
And the first episodes, I think, are like a nice ease in, and then it starts getting so bizarre and over the top and kind of amazing. So go check out Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal.
Okay. That's a fun idea for a show, for sure.
And after I do my Nathan For You rewatch, maybe that'll be my thing of the week eventually.
Okay, sounds good. I feel like I've seen a little bit of Nathan For You just because you've been watching it.
And I think I tried to explain one episode to you, and you were just like, oh, like, is that a joke? Is this like weird on purpose? Is this a game show? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And yes.
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 I like when the answer is just yes, all of that. Okay, well, Nathan, what is it called? The Rehearsal.
The Rehearsal.
So I think the next category that we should do is album.
All right.
Do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
Well, I think I know what yours is.
Yeah.
So, you know what? We all know what yours is. Let's hear it.
Okay, so to nobody's surprise, my album of the year is Midnights by Taylor Swift. If you've been a listener of the podcast for a very long time, you know that I love Taylor Swift. In 2021, I was in her 0.05% of listeners on Spotify. Unfortunately, I didn't get that title again because I was not at work listening to Taylor Swift every single day.
I think for this podcast, you talk about Taylor Swift so little relative to the space she has in your heart in your day-to-day life.
True.
Because you mention her like every now and then.
Yeah.
But in your life, like what percentage of music that you listen to on your own is Taylor Swift?
So this year, 2022, I'd say probably like 50%.
What? Oh,
I've
that's
diversified
surprisingly
a little bit.
Because I've never, and this is not an exaggeration, in the last 2 years, I've never heard you listen to music that wasn't Taylor Swift.
Oh. Huh.
It must happen at some point.
It does.
Whenever I hear your music, it's 100% been Taylor Swift.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's probably true. So Midnights is the 10th studio album, and it is all original music by Taylor Swift. It's the first album since Folklore and Evermore came out in 2020. I think I talked about Folklore on the podcast.
You did.
Yes. So this is definitely a different kind of album from Folklore and Evermore, which were a little bit more like low and vibey. Does that make sense?
It does. They were more in my vein.
Yes, yeah.
For modern music, I liked Folklore.
A little bit more like storytelling, lyrical. Whereas Midnights is inspired by sleepless nights, 13 sleepless nights throughout Taylor Swift's career. So she's had a very long career for a female kind of popular music person. So it contains almost like confessional type of lyrics. Of course, a big thing in Taylor Swift world is who she's dated and some of the like famous people that she's dated.
Has she dated famous people?
Yes.
Does it come up in her music ever?
No, never. So yes, so she has written a few albums about some of the men that she's dated and how they treated her. And so this is kind of a little bit of an extension. What I really like about this album is that the each track you can kind of see where in her discography it kind of comes from. So she actually literally samples some of her other songs in kind of background vocals or like beats and stuff. So you get kind of the feeling of an era from like each song, which is kind of neat. So going through and listening to it for the first time, it was really cool to like go through and be like, okay, this one sounds like Red. This one sounds like Folklore.
Oh, that's fun. It's almost like a retrospective in some ways.
Because it's like throughout her career, she's writing songs about moments in her career where she was a sleepless night. And so, and you get a little bit of 1989. She samples some of 1989 in a few of the songs, which is kind of neat. And this one is a little bit more, I don't know, would you call it electronic?
I defer to you. Okay. I haven't put in the time on Taylor Swift.
It's got like a lot of like synthesizers and different beats that we don't always hear from her in her music. So it was really cool to get to hear some new music from her. Since the last two things that we got were re-records, which I love because I love hearing her voice mature, and to hear her cover some stuff from the beginning of her career has been really nice.
But didn't she put out 2 in 2020, you said?
She put out 2.
And those were not re-records?
No.
Oh, so you expect like an album a year?
I guess.
It's just, I don't have a concept of that. Like, musicians I listen to are often like 5-6 years between albums.
Yeah.
So she usually is like an album a year kind of person?
Yes.
Whoa, that's a lot of music.
Yeah, so she released Folklore and Evermore in 2020 about 2 months apart. 2 or 3 months apart, and so it was like a big deal to have that much music. And then she followed it up in 2021, early 2021, with
Red, Taylor's version.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I'm learning.
And then in late 2021 we got Fearless, Taylor's version. And then it was almost a year before she even announced Midnights. And so everyone was like, we've gotten all of this new music. We're really used to constantly having new Taylor music. And now there's been nothing, and she's not talking about it. And the way she rolled out this album was really cool. She did 13 episodes of this. It was on TikTok and Instagram, called Midnight's Mayhem with Me, where she had like a vintage bingo number roller. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
Okay. And it had 13 track numbers in it. And so she'd pull them out and she'd say like, track 13 is Lavender Haze. And then like
Lavender Haze?
That was one of the tracks, yes.
Oh. Is it about weed?
No, it's about being in love.
With weed.
Maybe. So she went through and did that, and that created a lot of like hype, I guess, because she is
from like, I clearly don't know like nearly as much as you, but from what I know, she is very good at that.
She is incredibly good at hiding Easter eggs and creating this kind of buzz. It was kind of an unusual album drop for her because she didn't release a single, so we did not hear any music before release day at midnight. So it was very kind of exciting. She made it really exciting, which was fun. And I thought that it was like a really smart way to do it, because people were buying the album having not heard anything off of it. And people, you know, were like trying to get like the special copies and everything. And she's one of the top selling artists who sells physical albums still, which is a big deal. And one of the things that she did was she made 4 versions of the album and sold it as a clock. So you buy all 4 versions of the same album. They're all different colors and they have different clock numbers on them. And then there's a clock mechanism that you can buy off of her store, and it becomes a clock on the wall.
Is the audio different on them, or they're physically Oh.
The records are different colors.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing she is good at, is marketing and making money.
Yes.
Like sampling yourself so you don't have to pay anyone else.
It's
like,
true.
Re-recording your own stuff, releasing it again so you get 100% of the royalties. Yeah. She's very good at that.
She is very good at that.
But the way you're talking about all this reminds me of like when I was listening to more contemporary stuff when I was a teenager, and when you're saying something like, oh, you just buy the album without knowing anything on it. And I was like, isn't that how all albums are? Because that's how I always...
I mean, so for Red...
But I think that's just not the case with modern music. Modern music is not always released... Because I am a CD person.
Yes,
that's where I came from. And I still go to it because musicians I listen to, most of them aren't contemporary, so that's part of it. But it's weird when I listen to someone contemporary and I want an album and they're like, oh, it wasn't released like that.
Right.
And that is bizarre to me. So this is very, I guess it's throwback. But to me, it seems normal. I like it.
Yeah, see, I wasn't like a huge music person when I was younger. So like there were like popular bands that I liked that I would maybe get a CD of for Christmas. But I wasn't going out and spending all my money on CDs. So it was kind of a fun way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the hype around around the release of the album was really neat, and it was a lot of fun. And I think she's a very, very smart businesswoman.
Definitely. And I do love her doing all of this kind of like Easter eggy type stuff. So then whenever on an episode, if you're like, Indy, you're looking way too much into this, and then I'll just say, think of it as a Taylor Swift album. And then you're like, oh yeah, I can see all the connections now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like when artists put the intent in.
Yeah.
They're putting in the work and they're thinking about it. I don't want something that is haphazard and slapped together. I want someone to do art with intent.
Yes.
Whether I agree with the merits or the intent, I want them to put that work in, and I appreciate that.
Oh, she 100% does. She said she released a music video for one of the songs off this album called Bejeweled, and it was she did an interview after, and she said they had a PDF of all of the Easter eggs that were in this music video so that the filming team and the people in the video could make sure that they were hitting their marks and getting like all of the correct stuff in there. And it is so fun as a fan to get to go in then and like just know that it's like chock full of Easter eggs and like pull everything out. And I was texting some of my friends who are big Taylor Swift fans as well, and just being like, oh my god, did you see this? Oh my god, this is the next re-record. Oh my god, this is what's coming next, and like maybe this is when it is, and you get to pull all of these cool things out. And I like love that. It's created this really nice community of people. Yeah. That's
just how I see movies. I think we can like really see eye to eye on this.
I think so. I haven't even really talked about the music, but it was a big part of my year because she started releasing it in like late summer.
So I'll drop in some music here. Which song is your favorite if you had to pick one?
So I think my favorite song off the album is Mastermind. So Mastermind is kind of about meeting someone and knowing that they're like the one for you and really like putting in the work to make sure that it happens, that you guys get together. And it can kind of be also compared to her career of like, I knew what I wanted and I went for it, and it's been a lot of hard work to get there. It's not just like I fell into this career.
And the touch of a hand lit the fuse of a chain reaction of counter moves to assess the equation of you. Checkmate, I couldn't lose. What if I told you none of it was accidental, and the first night that you saw me nothing was gonna stop me? I laid the groundwork, and then just like clockwork the dominoes cascaded in a line. What if I told you I'm a mastermind?
I think it's a really good one. It's cute, it's poppy, and I could see dancing to this one. One other thing I should mention is on release day, 3 hours after releasing the first 13 songs. She released 7 more songs, and everyone stayed up until 3 a.m. to listen to them.
And this is how you can tell Samantha loves Taylor Swift. I can't get her to stay up late for, like, literally anything. I've never been able to. Our wedding night, you stayed up late.
Yeah.
But as soon as we got into a hotel, you really wanted to crash. And I was like, no, free hotel room. So you stayed up for a little bit with me, but not that long. New Year's Eve, like 12:30 maybe, you'll want to crash.
Yeah.
I often play hockey really late and we have things to do. It's like, oh, I'll come home and we can hang out a bit then. We'll watch TV or something. And you're like, no, that's never going to happen. But that day I was playing late and you said, I'm going to stay up. And I was like, oh, for me? And you're like, no. Taylor Swift album. And then I like showered and everything and you still stayed up. You stayed up as late as I did.
Yes.
That's how you know you love Taylor Swift.
It's true. I do. And it was just like such a fun day.
That's how it is after midnight all the time. You should try it more often.
It's super fun after midnight.
Oh, it really is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's Indy's time to shine.
Nice. I know. Nighttime Indy is the fun Indy.
Yeah, you've never met him. Only a couple times.
So, Indy, what is your album of the year?
My first inclination was to go with the new Black Star album, No Fear of Time. And Black Star, their first album, was one of my favorite albums ever. Definitely my top 10 favorite hip-hop albums. Maybe just albums, period. That is Mos Def and Talib Kweli. But it's only available on the Luminary subscription service.
Oh, boo.
So, you know what? I'm just going to pick something else. And I'm going to go with something a little more obscure, or at least I think. And that's the album El Bueno Y El Malo by Hermanos Gutierrez.
Oh, okay. Is it in English?
No, it's not in any language.
Oh.
So it came out this past October, and they are a 2-piece band. They're 2 brothers, Alejandro and Esteban, and they're like a super simple setup. It's 1 classic guitar, 1 lap steel, percussion, and that's it. No singing or anything like that.
Oh, wow.
One song they have 3 guitarists, and that one is called, I think, Tres Hermanos, because there's a 3rd brother, but it's not their brother, it's Dan Auerbach. And Dan Auerbach produced this album. He's most famous from the Black Keys. He's a part of them, does their production, but he also produces just good guitar music from around the world. He produced my favorite Bambino album, Nomad, from quite a few years back, but that was my favorite Bambino.
We love Bambino.
And Dan Auerbach, I love his production for a lot of this stuff. So this album, and we'll play some in the background now because it can go in the background of everything. It takes a lot of influence from Ecuadorian music of the 40s and 50s, as well as like Western films of the 50s and 60s. So the title of the album, of course, means The Good and the Bad, which is probably a reference to the film The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, because this is very reminiscent of the works of Ennio Morricone, who scored so many of those great spaghetti westerns and like a lot of those really iconic scores. So I love their music. It's really relaxed, but has a certain intensity despite that. I think this is perfect music for your next haunting HBO show. If there's a scene where someone is burying a body out in the desert in the middle of the night next to a bonfire, this is the kind of music that should be playing.
I love when you can hear something and be like, man, this would be on this kind of show.
Yeah.
Like you just really get that feeling.
So go check it out. It's called El Bueno Y El Malo, and it's by Hermanos Gutierrez.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, Sam, what do we have next? It's movies, right?
Yes.
What is your movie of 2022?
So I realized I don't watch a lot of movies by myself, which is odd because I'll watch 4 episodes of television.
This is the struggle.
Yes, but
You'll
I
always
won't
be willing to watch
Exactly.
5 hours of TV, but it's like, can we just watch a movie? And you're like, too much of a commitment.
Seems like, too hard. So I watched this with my stepdad who broke his foot. So we had to have a low key kind of thing to do. So we watched Where the Crawdads Sing. I really enjoyed this one. It was a beautiful movie. And it's about a woman who raises herself in the marshes of the Deep South. And I believe it's South Carolina. And then she becomes a suspect in the murder of someone who she was involved with. And a lot of it is kind of prejudice against her. They call her the Marsh Girl because she's kind of an outsider, even though she's just outside of the town. She kind of lives in this solitary world, and it's kind of a story about the people who help her along the way and who kind of are involved in her life, even though she lives a very solitary life. It was a slower movie, which I feel like it's more of an indie movie if it's a little bit slower. And it was just beautifully shot.
I remember the hype about it coming out because of the hype from the book. And then it came out and I just kind of didn't pay attention because we haven't been going to theaters really. So that was part of it. So yeah, it's kind of fun to get reacquainted with these things on their second time through.
Yes. And in true Samantha fashion, Taylor Swift wrote an original song for the score. So it's very, very cool. And we'll listen to it at some point, I'm sure. But I just thought it was such a great addition to this movie. So that's Where the Crawdad Sings. It was released this year, and it is 2 hours and 5 minutes. So, Indy, what's your movie of the year?
I think I've only seen 2 2022 movies.
I had a hard time with that.
You do watch a lot of those like new Netflix releases,
yeah.
though. But you also watch them. Those are the only movies you'll watch on your own. And then I'll be like, oh, was it good? And you're like, yeah, not really. You love consuming things you don't really like that much, which is an odd thing that I'll never quite understand.
Yeah, I don't really understand it either.
Because you say it's easier, but you don't like it.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is kind of how like you like eat as well.
Yeah.
You're like, why are you eating that? You don't like that. It's not good for you. You're like, yeah, but it's here.
It's true.
That's kind of Netflix's business model as well.
It's true.
It doesn't need to be good. It just needs to be there.
Like mediocre things that are in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very, very true.
I'm willing to put in the work.
Yeah, you
It takes me an hour to cook dinner every day, but pretty good though.
Yeah, you're a very good cook.
So you already know what it's going to be. It is RRR.
Yes.
It is the best movie I've seen in quite a few years. It came out this last year. I talk all about it in episode 174. It was my thing of the week. And in the next couple of months, let's just do an episode on it.
Absolutely. Because we've both seen it.
You haven't seen it all the way.
True.
You've seen a lot of it.
I had a shower in the middle of it. Still came back for the ending.
But let's do a full episode on it after we get to episode 200 when we do our other year in review of the podcast.
Yes.
I'll just start doing more fun things because I've been looking at preparing for that one. And I was like, I haven't been doing a lot of fun movies. We've been doing work.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to do one more, lean into it and do one more hard work episode.
Okay.
And then just be like fun times.
Okay.
Real quick pitch. If you're not familiar with the world of RRR or Indian cinema, if I could put it into Hollywood terms, it's more over-the-top action than the last 5 Fast and Furious movies. It has better songs and dances than Chicago. It has the history aspect of Braveheart. It has better fight scenes than Infinity War. It has a more fun friend dynamic than Lethal Weapon. It has the twists of The Departed, and then you throw in the religious allegories of Superman. And you get halfway to what RRR is. It is just amazing. It's so much fun. I think that's the word I would want to stress most. It is a fun movie. It is a spectacle. It's a roller coaster. It's all of that. Go check it out. The Hindi dub is on Netflix now. Or if you know me, I can get you the original language one.
Okay.
And then you should watch it because we're going to be talking about it pretty soon.
I'm excited to watch the Hindi version. Is that what we've watched?
You've seen the Hindi dub.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I want to see what's the original language. Tagalu. I'm excited to watch that version.
Yes, I have it now, so we can
excellent.
We can watch that. So it's not really much of a pitch because you've already seen it. I think the other movie I saw in 2022 was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Is that what it's called? You know that one. And a real quick pitch for that, fantastic performances.
Oh.
And it has this like very big, grand, sometimes absurd plot. And it still managed to be grounded because of these great performances. I think it's a lot of people's favorite movie of the year. If I had any detraction from it, the Daniels, the 2 guys named Daniel who directed it, I didn't love their direction on this one. And I was someone who liked their stuff that other people hated. But I think they sometimes got lost in their own eccentricities and didn't allow some of the emotional beats to land enough. But that's a criticism of a movie that I thought was great. So
Right.
go check that one out too.
Nice. We got a 2-for-1 there.
Yeah.
Nice.
2 halves.
So our final category is other, and I think we left this one pretty open.
I have nothing.
You have nothing?
I can make something up.
Okay.
That's what I've been doing a lot of the time.
Indy's very good at ad-libbing, which I am not. I have notes in front of myself.
I had notes for some of this, but I also had a rehearsal run kind of because I recorded the EPL
Right,
podcast
that's
where
right.
half of the stuff I said there.
Are you hitting your marks?
Oh man, I'm hitting them. Although I did say on the EPL podcast, talking about RRR, I said, I can't spoil this movie because how can you spoil a roller coaster? And Caroline said oh, that was a good line. So I really should have said that in this one too. But
Well, at least you got it in.
now I got it. Yeah,
Perfect.
Sure. So what is your other? Is that what we're calling
Other
it?
of the year?
Yeah, what's your other best thing of the year?
My other thing of the year is getting to explore my Indigenous heritage a little bit more.
That is a very good other thing of the year. Mine is going to be, I don't know what it is, but it's going to be trite compared to that.
So this year I have been off work with illness, and one thing that was kind of a bright spot for me was getting to have a little bit more time to kind of delve into my Indigenous heritage and get to learn a little bit more about where I come from and some of the things that my ancestors do and did for different times of the year and arts and crafts and stuff. I'm a pretty crafty person, so I've recently started beading and making some Indigenous kind of designs of earrings and that kind of thing. So it's been kind of a fun way to connect with my past.
That's pretty awesome. And I think that's just good advice too for people. Sometimes if you didn't grow up in a certain culture, but you have links to it, it might be hard to find a way in. So finding a way in, for you, it's beading is a big part of it because it's touching on those things that you already have an interest in.
Exactly.
And then it gives you a good in to the culture, and then you can expand from there.
Yeah, and this is also kind of coming from a time where I've gotten to meet a lot of my birth family in the last couple years. And this year I got to go down to Washington and meet some of our biggest listeners, my family from Chelan, Washington.
Oh, awesome. That's who's listening in Washington. I was hoping it was my family in Washington, but it's your family
it's
in
my
Washington.
family in Washington. So hi to everyone there.
Hello.
Happy New Year's. So when we got to meet up, we drove over the border and met up with them just on the other side of the border in Washington. And they were like, oh my God, we've listened to every single episode of your podcast. We love it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I said, I'll give you guys a shout out.
Well, thanks for listening. And also, we give shout outs to everyone. So if you just say hey, I listen all the time, I love it. Yeah, we'll talk about you.
Exactly.
Because we don't have many fans. You know what? Where we blew up this month? Massachusetts and Louisiana.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So if that's you, thanks.
Thank you guys. So yeah, that's my other of the year.
I think it was last Christmas maybe. I got us both those I can't remember which one of those ancestry DNA type things.
Yeah.
And mine incredibly boring because it was 100% of very specific region in Northwest India, and that's it.
Yeah.
And they said maybe 0.01% South Indian. I was like, that's how diverse
that makes sense.
I am.
Yeah.
But
Indy's map is one color.
Yeah.
Mine, I'm a lot more multicultural than I thought.
All over the place,
over
which
the
was a
place.
surprise for us.
Yeah. So that was a pretty cool thing to get.
Mm-hmm. And also, if any of your family members have committed murder now, maybe this will lead to their arrest.
Yes, exactly.
People say that as a bad thing, but it's if someone in my family has been murdering people, maybe they should be found out.
I'd like to get them off the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's more likely they're going to murder you.
Yeah, exactly.
People murder their family members most of all.
Yes, true. So stay safe.
That's why I have such a hard time sleeping.
Get your DNA checked and stop murder.
Yeah, stop murder, everyone. And this episode of I Love This, You Should Too is brought to you by the Alberta Blue Cross. Even if you're a busy business owner with more meetings than hours in a day, you can be calm and collected when your group benefit plan is taken care of by Alberta Blue Cross. your employees can manage their own health, dental, life, and disability coverage anytime on any device, making it easier for them and for you. To learn more and to explore your options, head to ab.bluecross.ca.
Okay, well, that was our 2022, what did we call it? Year in review? Best.
You know what it should be called?
What?
Things of the year.
Things of the year, because we do things of the week. Yeah. Okay, so that was our 2022 Things of the Year. And let us know what your things of the year were. If there's anything that we should be reading, watching, or listening to, or othering. And
othering means something else.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, what does it mean?
The proverbial other, to other someone, is to say to distance yourself because like we are us and they are them. They are the other. They are the unknown, and therefore we dislike them.
Okay.
I know all about othering.
That's not what I meant. Less othering.
Do you have a something you're most looking forward to for a 2023 release?
I don't know. I think the next Taylor Swift re-record.
Right.
Which I think is going to be Speak Now.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Speak Now, coming out in 2023.
If you watch the Bejeweled music video, you'll know it's Speak Now.
All right.
Yeah.
Also, though, as much as I love Taylor Swift fans looking into everything, a lot of the time, way too far. It's like straight up conspiracy theory nonsense a lot of the time.
We have it's called clowning. And
you might have just gotten clowned.
Maybe.
Well, now you're on the record, so we'll see if you're right.
It's fine. We'll see.
I think mine is the sequel to Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah, that's
Across
right.
the Spider-Verse, I think it's called. A new trailer just came out. I'm not watching anything because I'm going to go see it.
My friend Kristen in Vancouver, she and her partner watched Spider-Verse, and she sent me a very nice message about our episode. So.
Oh, nice. I loved that episode. It is our longest episode ever. Oh, by far. It's just about 2 hours.
Oh, my goodness.
I went off on Spider-Man. I love that movie. It was great.
Kristen said she cried at the end.
When I was like, I was getting a little...
Yeah,
all right, Kristen, we love you.
We
You're
love
the best.
you, Kristen. Kristen was my first order from my business as well. So we love Kristen in this household.
Big
and
fan.
Lauren and her partner Lauren, but we love both of you. Thank you.
But especially Kristen, right?
Yeah. I actually met Kristen in a Taylor Swift Facebook group.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, full circle.
Full circle. She's the one I talk to about Taylor Swift so that you don't get really annoyed with me.
I'll listen. I just don't have the insight. It's a kind of a one-way conversation. Like if I were to talk to you about the Miami Dolphins, it's gotten a little bit like that.
Yeah, okay.
Where you're just like, yeah, what are you gonna do? Jalen Waddle, man. Jalen Waddle and Cheetah.
Teal and orange. So that's my comeback. Okay, everyone. Well, we will see you in 2023 when we start our year with my pick for the week after.
I think the people know what that means.
Okay, great.
I assume so.
If you listen,
I just want to know now. What's your movie?
My movie is going to be...
Is it? Well, you just didn't know. You're not supposed to say it.
Oh, sorry. I'm bad at those.
But also now that you... Well, I'm not going to say anything more. You know what I might do? I might bleep it.
Okay.
Because I was going to complain about something else, but that would give it away.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Sorry.
I can't believe you told me. That's good. I like it.
I'm very gullible.
No, that's good. I wanted to know.
Okay, great.
Cool. I look forward to hearing about it for the first time next week.
Next week.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, everyone.
What's your Happy New Year sound? You can't do ho 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 anymore.
The sound effect for New Year's is just like a champagne cork popping.
That makes sense.
So it's like...
Good job.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.